Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another edition of Seen Beyond and Through with Monty. Well, the Olympics are over, but the talk about Sha'carri Richards is not. For the past couple of weeks, she's been making a lot of news, primarily for finishing in last place. See, she has a big mouth, but with that big mouth, she seems to cannot back things up. However, this is not what this particular video is about. This is about an ongoing issue that I keep hearing and getting with comments that are left to me. And it says right here, Sha'carri Richardson, alleged homophobic tweets resurface amid Olympic suspension for weed. Okay, this was way back before the Olympics when she had these homophobic tweets in which she made about Lil Nas and men wearing pink. So we'll read. If you are a nig and you wear pink, die in a pit because you gay SF. That's a tweet by Sha'carri Richards. Okay, she goes on here to say, my family knows I'm bi, which is going to go into what I'm getting at. So apparently she identifies as bisexual. If you support Lil Nas X, you can unfollow me. Now this left a lot of people perplexed because people were perplexed because thought she had a girlfriend. So that was bull. It doesn't, she already has a girlfriend. Here's another question with that. I thought she was gay. So her comments left many people scratching their heads. It left many people with their mouths open. It left many people wondering, wait a minute, if she's in the LGBTQ plus community, how can she be anti-gay? So basically, I'm going to answer that. And these comments keep coming back on a video I did about her called Sha'carri Richards, Her Dislike of Gays and Men Who Wear Pink. This was about a month ago. You can check out the video. It was 10 minutes and 13 seconds long. And there it goes right there. Sha'carri Richards and her dislike of gay men and men who wear pink. Now, before I get to the explaining of her mindset and of the mindset of other lesbian or bisexual women like her, I want you to take a look at this video because it's going to explain a lot and it's going to lead into my commentary and what I'm going to bring forth. Okay, right here. Here is a very big, flamboyant, I'm going to say gay male. When I say big, I don't mean that in a bad way. It's just that he seems to be very proud of his weight, of his size. He's flaunting it. So more power to him. I think body positivity is great. But let me just bring out to you what I want to say. Women like Sha'carri Richards, a lot of lesbian women, bisexual women, do not particularly like gay men who are flamboyant or feminine, based upon where Sha'carri's, from. If they're kind of from a lower socioeconomic area, they are used to a certain type of men, behaving in a certain type of way. The men who they are used to is kind of like the king of their neighborhoods, of their areas, is who they have learned to admire and look up to. Usually you see men like this here, and the only type of people who tend to admire men like this, particularly if they were hairdressers, would be celebrity women, like Oprah Winfrey, Michelle Obama. If they had a hairdresser who was gay, who was flamboyant, they wouldn't mind. It wouldn't matter to them one iota. But when you start dealing with women like Sha'carri Richards, lower socioeconomic areas, it tends to make a difference. and I will explain farther and show you. So, to understand someone like Sha'carri Richards and her mindset, she is obviously a rough around the edges. She's a tough cookie. She's someone who is, I want to say, flamboyant herself, but in a very grandiose, kind of braggadocious way. And you can tell by the way in which, she stated those tweets that obviously she doesn't like feminine gay men. She probably doesn't like feminine men, period, because of the area that she comes from. And let me just state this farther, too, to give you a little more in depth. Among the LGBTQ plus communities, there's never been some type of unity among the LGBTQ plus people. Never been. These are trans men right here. And just to throw this in here, gay white men have been working relentlessly for the past 8 years to remove the T. They just wanted LGBTQ, but no T there. They wanted to kick trans people out of the LGBTQ plus communities. It just showed you that no, there's not a cohesive unity among people within the LGBTQ plus. And among black lesbians, among lesbians, bisexual women, there has never been a loving, peaceful, coexisting relationship with gay men. Never has been. I think a lot of times when you see these award shows, you be mistaken because people are on smiles on their best behaviors. Or when you see marches for gay rights, I think that can confuse people. I believe that people can come together for the greater good. But other than that, lesbian women, they don't really have a need for men. They don't really have a need for gay men. They don't need men for sex, for jobs, really. They don't need men to validate them. They don't need men, obviously, not to date. They don't need men for anything. So therefore, men coming into their spaces can be very problematic. Lesbians, when they get together, they do not like to have men there. It doesn't matter if he's gay or bisexual. What does matter is that he is a male and he's trespassing. Now, I mentioned all those things about what they don't need men for. I'm not saying that women who need men for those things, it's a bad thing, as long as it's reciprocated back. But lesbians, for the most part, can do without men. They will prefer, many of them, for men not to come into their circle or their places. So therefore, no, there's never been this loving, cohesive community outside of marching, outside of protesting, outside of award shows. Now, getting back to the Sha'carri Richards types, are type of women like that. Whether they're gay women like that, bisexual women like that, they would have a problem with someone like Nas, who's very flamboyant, who's very out there, who's very unapologetic, who doesn't fit the, I guess, over machismo or masculine type. What is it, the hyper aggressive black male? He does not display the type of toxic masculinity that they would be in awe of or that they would admire. And many of them, unfortunately, do admire that particular type. They would have more of a problem with this type right here because of being flamboyant. However, they would not have a problem with if these types right here were gay. See the difference right there? There's a stark contrast. Because these are the type of men in their communities who they look up to as men. These are the type of men who display the type of masculinity that doesn't matter if she's straight or if she's lesbian or she's bisexual, they tend to, I want to say, have a somewhat of a fear of what that's mixed in with respect, that is mixed in with awe and admiration, because they look at these men as being protectors, and these men as someone who can throw down, who will not back down, who will stand up for their rights. They don't look at these men as being what they would call sissies. They look at these as being more like macho men. So therefore, Sha'carri's, to be honest with you, her biggest complaint, and what she really had a problem with, in my opinion, she mentioned the pink, and she mentioned men like Lil Nas. I think it's more of a behavior trait in which she has a problem with. Men displaying themselves as being feminine, like the heavyset guy, which is very interesting because Sha'carri wears a lot of wigs and weaves. And I'm going to seriously doubt that she never had a gay man who touched her wigs or weaves, who was not stitching her up. But then again, it goes back to, usually they do not have a problem with if he's very flamboyant and he does hair. That's not a problem. The problem would be is that if he is of no use to them. And on the flip side of that, let's be honest, a lot of gay men would have a problem with a lesbian who's too butch. They would have a problem with if she is overly masculine, as some would say, looking or acting like a man. So there is two sides to that. I will be fair about that. And it would be interesting if Sha'carri Richards had a problem with a lesbian like this here. I would probably doubt that. Because she, like so many of the conscious black men, tend to have a problem with gay black men or bisexual black men when they're overtly feminine or when they're very out there. It's almost like it's an embarrassment to them. So that would explain to you guys why, even though she identifies as bisexual herself, why she would have a problem with certain types of gay or bisexual black men. It would be based upon their behavior in her eyes. Their behavior is not becoming to her what a man is or how a man should conduct himself. They like these toxic masculinity traits in men, who they view and see as being real men. Which is very ironic, to be honest with you. It really does show you where her mindset is at. But I guess we all have to remember that she's 21, I believe, still very young, still growing, still has a lot of maturing to do. And hopefully she would do just that. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, that is another edition of Sin Beyond and Through with Monty, and I will see you all beyond and through.